Let's talk about the Appdata folder. This is one that is kind of a mystery to a lot of people, and it exists. Actually, there's an Appdata folder for each user. So I'm going to go into the C drive users, and we'll look at my Appdata folder. So this is where all of my folders exist under the Roger folder. Here's my desktop, my documents, my downloads, my music, and so forth. If I click Hidden Items, you'll see that there is an Appdata folder here. So there's the Appdata folder. If I open that up, you'll see that there are three subfolders underneath it: local, local low, and roaming. So what goes into these? Well, it turns out that every application, or nearly every application, needs to store information about that application, or that application collects, in a place that it can access it, that users typically do not need to access. So why are there three of them? Well, the roaming folder is actually designed, and let's open that up. You'll see all these different applications on my machine. Now the roaming folder is designed where these applications can put information and settings and so forth that I may need no matter what machine I'm on. For example, if I'm in a domain situation and I log on at one computer and I log on at another computer and I run one of these programs, then the program can dip into the roaming folder, and that roaming folder will allow the same settings and setups at another computer as it did at one computer. So that's why it would store them in roaming. Now, what if you're not in a domain? What if you're at home on your home computer? Is roaming ever used then? Well, obviously it is. I'm not on a domain right now, but look, all these different programs are storing stuff in the roaming folder. Let's see why. I'm going to open a PowerShell here, and I'm going to look at the environmental variables. And here they are. And you might note that the Appdata variable points to the roaming folder, the Appdata roaming folder. And then there's a local Appdata variable down here that points to the Appdata local folder. Well, it turns out that a program calls upon the variable, calls upon the Appdata variable, for example, and says, where should I stick my Appdata settings data? Well, the computer responds, you're going to put it in Appdata roaming. So this is the default place that Appdata will go that a program wants to save data to. Now, if the program calls out that I want to save it only to local Appdata, then it will call upon this variable, and the computer will respond, okay, well now it's going to go into the local folder. So the computer program, the programmer, decides what's going to go in this one and this one here, and what's going to go in this one, and it calls it by variable, and then the computer responds, well, where does that go? So you can see that the default Appdata place is this roaming folder. And then if the program wants to store only local stuff that's local for that specific computer, then it would call upon this variable, which would then tell it to put it here. Well, now what's the third one? Local low. Well, this is a kind of a special one. If I open it, you'll notice there's not as much stuff in this one. Just a few programs that call upon this one. This is a very special place where data that is what we call low security level is put. For example, when a browser runs in protected mode makes sure that it doesn't allow downloads, for example, that could be dangerous to your system. So protected mode keeps you protected. Well, every securable folder and file has built into it a security level, built into the security ID. As you can see, low level has a number here, 4096, medium 8192, and so on. Well, low level items can be stored in the local low folder. Now, this gets a little bit complicated, and we don't really want to get into all the security IDs, but it turns out that each user has a tag, and each securable object has a tag, and the user must have the same or higher level in order to access a particular level of object. So these very low-level objects can go in that local low folder. So there you have it. That's what these three are for. They simply store settings and data that programs need in order for the program to run correctly. One of those things, for example, is with a browser, temporary files. Those happen to be stored usually in this roaming folder, sometimes in this local folder, and that way that browser has access to those temporary files that are websites that it's called up previously and so forth. So that's stored here, and that's one of those kinds of things that's stored here. All right, that's it for these, and thank you so much for listening.